Hello, tankers. Today we'll talk about concealment. Wrap your camo nets tight around you. Let's begin. This video overlaps with the previous episode about the view range system. We won't go over all the mechanics again, since we did that in the previous video. You can find it in the info card and description. Today, we'll talk more about how to improve and use your concealment. But first, let's go through the main terms. If your tank has been spotted, you'll see a warning light bulb, but only 3 seconds later. Keep in mind that that's more than enough time for your turret to be hit. When the enemy stops spotting you, you'll be visible for 10 more seconds. Always remember that. But how do you remain unspotted? Every vehicle has its own concealment value. It affects what penalty the enemy will receive to their view range value. So whether you're spotted or not depends not only on your concealment, but also on the enemy's view range. Concealment depends on the vehicle size and type. As a rule, light tanks have the best concealment. For medium tanks, it's average. And heavy tanks, well, hide-and-seek is not for them. Tank destroyers usually have good concealment, but only when stationary. Concealment heavily depends on what your tank is doing. If it's stationary, the value is at its highest. If it's moving, then it's significantly lower. Concealment when stationary and on the move is only the same for light tanks. Finally, when you shoot, your concealment drops to its lowest. When you're hiding, shooting is the best way to reveal yourself. Bushes provide a great concealment bonus and allow you to hide almost right under the enemy's nose. To do that, you need to cover all your vehicle's visibility checkpoints in or behind the bush. The crowns of trees work in the same way, but only the crowns. You can't hide a tank behind a tree trunk, so it's best to fell it in advance. This rule doesn't apply to conifer trees, since they have low crowns. You can leave them standing. Both trees and bushes are divided into two types, with and without foliage. The concealment bonus from leafless vegetation is only half the one leafy vegetation provides, but it's a bonus nonetheless, so remember this difference. If there's more than one bush between you and your opponent, their bonuses add up. Double bushes work better than single ones. The only time vegetation doesn't cut your view range is if you're close enough to it that it's transparent in your reticle. That said, the concealment parameter is decreased for vegetation within 15 meters around you when you fire. Putting it simply, you can spot enemies when you're close to bushes, but will be spotted yourself after shooting. If you roll back, you won't be able to spot, but can shoot while remaining unseen. This is how you can use it. Roll to a bush so that it becomes transparent. Spot the enemy and roll back a little, then fire. To fell a tree, you don't always need to drive up to it. That can be very dangerous sometimes. You can load an HE shell and shoot at the base of the tree. This is a situational trick that isn't used often, but sometimes it can come in handy. Don't forget about the proximity spotting distance we talked about in the last episode. At 50 meters, the enemy is guaranteed to spot you. No bushes, obstacles, or terrain can save you. The good news is that you'll spot them too. Remember that the light bulb is displayed only 3 seconds later. If there's not enough room on your position to roll back 15 meters from the bush and fire, you need to get to cover after each shot, immediately, not after you see the light bulb. Keep in mind the time you remain spotted. If your gun takes less than 10 seconds to reload, think twice what's more important for you. Quickly causing more damage or waiting a few more seconds to disappear and stay alive. You can count these 10 seconds based on your reloading time. If you have an autoloader, think how much damage you might receive while unloading your magazine. If the HP trade is definitely in your favor, then go for it and head for cover later. Vehicles and their wrecks don't affect spotting. You can hide from enemy shells behind a heroically fallen ally, but not from their eyes. Finally, how do you hide without bushes? You need to keep an eye on the maximum view range distance on the minimap. If you stay outside all your opponent's view range, you won't be spotted. Inside it, your chances of staying invisible are higher if you don't shoot and stand still. But in most cases, without a bush, you'll be spotted as soon as you roll into the enemy view range circle. This depends on your concealment value. Concealment can be increased in several ways. First of all, don't leave your tank in its factory paint. In the Preset Styles tab, every 2D or 3D style gives a bonus to concealment. The difference is only visual, so select the one you like most. The Custom Style tab allows you to paint the vehicle however you like, but you'll only get that bonus if you apply camouflage to its hull. And we mean camouflage, not one-color paint. Perks. The concealment perk significantly boosts the parameter of the same name, and also depends on how many crew members have trained it. For the maximum bonus, you need to train it to 100% for all tankers. Brothers in Arms improves all parameters. It boosts concealment even more, but only if the concealment perk is trained. Food consumables and improved ventilation have the same effect. Improved radio set will reduce the time you remain spotted and increase the time an enemy remains spotted. It might be useful sometimes, but it's not very popular. Camouflage Net significantly increases the concealment value, but only for a stationary vehicle. It's a very situational piece of equipment that's most useful for some vehicles with siege mode, since they can turn their hull without disabling the net effect. Sometimes it can also be useful for passive scouting, but in most cases, low-noise exhaust is better and more versatile. It provides smaller bonus to concealment, but it works all the time, even when you're on the move or shooting. Keep in mind that all this may only be useful for light tanks, sniper tank destroyers, and some medium tanks. There are many more useful pieces of equipment and perks for heavy tanks, armored medium tanks, and assault tank destroyers. Now you know how exactly to hide from the enemy's sights, but you also need to understand where and how to do it. If you hide in bushes, it's best to do so in key positions, if possible, close to the enemy with lines of fire on their key positions. You'll only need bushes near the base for passive defense to retreat when it's obvious your team is losing a flank. Standing there from the start of battle only makes sense in specific sniper vehicles, which are less useful in close combat. But even in these vehicles, there will be moments when you need to leave the bush and go help your allies nearby. For example, take the bushes in sectors K0 through D0 on Malinovka, where you'll only be really useful if your allies lose the battle for the windmill. Or you can use the bushes near the windmill itself to win back key positions and the battle. On Paris, you can occupy a balcony and stay there until the end of the battle, trying to exploit enemy mistakes. Or you can fell trees in the town and shoot at heavy tanks while remaining invisible. In the second case, your influence on the outcome of the battle will be higher. It's very important to be able to use concealment in World of Tanks, but that's not all there is to the game. That's it for today. Show this video to your friends who put camo on the mouse's turret and hide it in the bushes in the corner of the map. See you soon.
Blip, 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 blip.